So, welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalja, and today we have one of the industry leaders, Tim Bond, founder and CEO of TechPros. Welcome, Tim. How are you doing today?
Alex, welcome. Thank you for the welcome. Yes, I'm doing very well indeed. So looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome, and I'm excited to have you on the podcast today, and I'm sure you're going to be of great value for the audience. Now, before we dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what TechPros does?
Okay, so Tech Pros is a business that helps typically technology brands engage their addressable market through content and events programs. So we've been going for 8 years, and we spin up thought leadership programs on a particular topic for a specific industry, and we invite senior leaders from organizations that our sponsors are looking to build relationships with, and we interview them and we feature them in a report, and off the back of that there are relationships that are built and we run events, etc. But actually, I think, Alex, more interesting for your listeners is CogniScale, which is an AI training business which I formed recently off the back of an AI transformation of Tech Pros. So I think that's probably the interesting story that I can share with your listeners.
Yeah, sure. And for example, what inspired you to create like a TechPros with CogniScale? Like, was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
Yeah, no, definitely. So, like any business that produces content, as you get busier, you're constrained by the copywriters in your network, the people that you have worked with historically. And as in many situations in business, you've got your kind of favorites, if you like, who produce really great content. In our case, and then you've got those that you might call on if you don't have the ability to bring in your specialist copywriters. And the problem with that, of course, is that you're then exposed to suboptimal quality, and that means rewrites, client dissatisfaction, delayed production, etc. So that was our kind of challenge that we had. And in 2022, when GPT came out, ChatGPT, there was definitely some curiosity within my team, and we started experimenting. And we felt that at the time, the ChatGPT content, so we were looking at using AI for producing the content, and it was very robotic. And we then discovered Claude and found that the outputs that we were getting were very natural sounding. And then in 2024, last year, they introduced Claude projects, which allowed us to build a lot of context, and give the AI a lot of examples of what good looks like. And as a result of that, we were able to produce incredible content, and we no longer needed to rely on copywriters. We had a kind of an in-house process, which also included quality control. But we were able to save 75% of our costs in content
Yeah.
production. And clients were extremely happy. Our interviewees who were participating in our programs were extremely happy. And it wasn't until I was having a conversation with a senior marketer who I thought would be interested in sponsoring one of our Tech Pros programs, and interviewing their
Right.
clients, their buyers, etc. But she actually said, her name's Maria Leave, and she works for a fintech called Simcore. And she said, well, actually, what I really need is help scaling up our content production and being able to run more campaigns with a limited number of people.
Mhm.
And I said, well, we've just gone through this experience ourselves at Tech
Mhm.
Pros. And I'm thinking that there's so much opportunity for marketing leaders to benefit from leveraging AI for, to begin with, content production, that I said, well, look, why don't we look at exploring a pilot upskilling program? And she was really keen to do that. So we got some budget together, and off we went. And as they say, the rest is history. And
Mhm.
we've realized that, yeah, there's a great offering that we've got here with CogniScale, which is upskilling initially sales and marketing teams, but others, HR, legal,
Of
and
course.
beyond, to bring them up to speed with the future of work. And
Of course.
everything's changing, right?
Yeah, of course. And for example, I have a curiosity. So, what was your background before starting this venture?
Excuse me. So I started my career in the late 90s in IT consulting. I worked for a company called Perot Systems that was run by Ross Perot that your listeners might have heard of. He was a billionaire from the US who ran for president, set up a company called EDS that was one of the first sort of IT outsourcing companies. But did a bit with software, selling software after that, and then I set up a business that was helping organisations that were looking at outsourcing to offshore locations with hiring trainers, language trainers. And so I lived out in India for a while, and that sort of evolved into some headhunting. And then in 2008, when the credit crisis happened, I started the business that has sort of evolved into where we are today. And that was using LinkedIn as a platform for engaging buyers through outreach. And that moved into what is now Tech Pros, which is looking at how we can leverage kind of content and community and the human side of B2B marketing. And then obviously as I've caught up with the story of
Right.
CogniScale. So that's the sort of potted history for my career.
Okay, okay, that's interesting one. But for example, if you are looking back, what would you wish you've done differently in those early days? Yeah, so for example, when you start the tech pros at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of this one, so what you've done like doing differently, what angle do you want to approach?
Well, I wish AI had arrived a bit sooner. That's for sure. What would I have done differently with Tech Pros? I don't think there's anything that really stands out. I think probably building relationships with larger agencies sooner, because I think channel marketing is a great strategy for small businesses like ours. Um, Probably, I think we're really pushing for building communities around roundtable events, and I
Okay.
think that is probably the most valuable investment of professionals' time to actually meet other people, find out what their industry peers are thinking and doing. A lot of what we've done historically has been great. We've been featuring people in with their sort of interview write ups in market view reports, which is great, and they get some kind of personal branding from it, and they learn a bit about what's going on in their industry that perhaps they weren't aware of. But I think that kind of human engagement of either meeting people in roundtables, face to face roundtables, or meeting them on a Zoom call and sort of following up and connecting on LinkedIn. I think that's really great. And so I think really more perhaps if we'd spend a little bit more time focusing on virtual events and in person events from the beginning, I think would have been a good move.
Yeah, 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 I agree with you. And for example, regarding to the CogniScale, what inspired you to create and help teams navigate the AI transformation?
Well, the business opportunity is immense, right? So obviously the way we are working is changing rapidly, and the fact that we've been through this process for 2.5 years and we've kind of learnt about it, and we've become very fluent as an organization, and with our early clients they have too. It's like, well, naturally there's a commercial opportunity for us to help organizations, not just within the sales and marketing departments but beyond, go on the same journey. And there are going to be organizations that spring up doing this, and we feel that we've kind of got a bit of a head start on the market because we've got all
Yeah.
this experience very early on. So yeah, it's very interesting. Going back to your question, what we would have done differently, maybe there's some learnings there, and we need to be building partnerships with larger organisations to access their client base.
Right, right, right. But tell me about CogniScale, a unique approach, and basically what makes different from other AI training courses.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we have a 3 workshop program which includes 2 assignments, and we run it between 4 and 6 weeks. And the workshops are called Plan, Build, Scale, which is effectively what it's all about. And what's really different to our training program is the participants start off by filling in a survey. So we're able to understand what their workflows are. And we're able to use an AI agent that then builds demo agents of what AI assistants could look like
Yeah,
for their specific workflows. So very early on, we're able to give them this sort of aha moment of going, "Oh my God, this is
yeah,
incredible." So we're different because we're actually a lot of companies. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I get it, but the narrative at the moment is, oh, find processes that you don't like doing or that take a lot of time or whatever. And yeah, that's fair enough. But actually, you really want to be figuring out, what are the challenges you've got as a professional? Yeah. What is it that you need to get done in the next 2 to 3 months? Okay.
Right.
And what are your really important workflows? And so we take that approach, which is kind of build AI agents that are going to be able to get the most important tasks that you have done, and done better and faster. Okay. What does that mean? Well, that means that actually you could free up time to think about all of those other projects that, we all have these big ambitions at the beginning of the year, our goals, this is what we want to do. The reality is it's very difficult to get all of the things done that we think or we say we're going to do. And now that there is the ability to build AI agents to augment existing workflows, it means that this time that's freed up can definitely be spent on those projects that you never got round to. So that's our approach. It's like bring your actual work to the training program. So you're not kind of going to a training program and kind of wasting time. You're actually accelerating your day-to-day work, if that makes sense. So that's one. This idea of starting with one workshop, which is really just understanding. So we train on Claude, Anthropic's Claude. I'm not going to go into the differences between all the models because we don't have time, and why we're in Claude and not doing it on ChatGPT. But the key thing here is the plan workshop is helping the participants learn how to use the technology, but not just how the software works, but also actually how you work with the AI. So treating it more as a teammate than a tool, communicating, conversing, getting the AI to interview you, using artifacts to be able to edit with Claude. And then off the back of that, they have to go away and come up with ideas for their first agent that they're going to build. The second workshop is build. So we effectively teach the team how to work with AI to build the project instructions, figure out all of the information that they need in order for their AI agents to be effective. So they learn the tips and tricks around that. Then the next assignment following the build workshop, they have to actually go and build their AI agent and test it and work with it and then give feedback. What worked, how much time have they saved? What ideas have they got for other agents that they could build to support other workflows? And then finally, in Scale, we have a very sort of intimate roundtable discussion. What worked? What were the challenges? How do we avoid those? So you're probably, Alex, getting a feel for this isn't a kind of a one-shot training scheme. It's not like a Coursera or an online thing. It's very, very engaging and intimate. And the key thing here is bringing your whole team together. So we run cohorts of max 9 people. And you've then got a sort of a critical mass of everyone going through the same process and the same experience, experiencing those aha moments together. And off the back of that, you've got this momentum, which is really important for transformation and change.
Right, and I like the idea because this AI agent complement your vision and helps you to build more around that, right? So besides the actual operational thing that you make daily.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and for example, because you mentioned this, how does your program help teams transition from tinkering with ChatGPT to building the AI agents?
Great. I love it. So you've obviously done a bit of research and looked at some of our slide decks and stuff. So yeah, this concept of moving from go-kart AI to formula AI and from tinkering to transformation, it's like anything. When you're trying to communicate something new, it's nice to have these words and these concepts, right? So I think if we look, it's a great question, by the way. If we look at where most organizations are right now, they are tinkering. Okay. A lot of companies are just giving access to ChatGPT or kind of turning a blind eye to AI, in that perhaps people are using their own personal licenses that really they shouldn't be, because there's data protection issues, etc., data privacy issues. But really what's going on are these sort of little sporadic pilots. You're going to have some people that are very proactive and using AI a lot. You're going to have others that perhaps are not. And you don't have any sort of coordinated approach to actually how you're going to be tackling this work transformation, this change in terms of moving from this sort of task execution to task orchestration. So tinkering is kind of where I would say the majority, the large majority right now of of organizations and professionals are. And I know that from all the conversations I'm having, both professionally and personally, and also from the research that I'm reading as well. Moving, just to repeat the question again, you asking how you move from that to the transformation, or what was the question?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess, look, moving to a kind of a new way of working, there's lots to think about, okay? Because you need to have your senior level people bought in, and the way to do that is actually to give them an experience themselves, so they can see it and feel it and realize that, wow, actually, as a CEO or a CMO or a leader of a department, if they can personally see the impact that this building these Claude projects, in our case, these AI agents, to automate and work with them as a thought partner. Once they drink the Kool-Aid, right, and they can see, oh my God, this is incredible for me, and they can see how it works for them, they can then apply that to their teams. And once you've got that mindset working, it's much easier, because then they're going to be supportive, they're going to free up budget, they're going to encourage other leaders to do it. So you've got to have that top-down momentum, but it's just as important that you've got to have the bottom-up. Okay, so I was listening to a podcast on a run this morning, actually, and this AI consultant was sort of talking about, oh, you've got to have this kind of, you've got to map your workflows, you've got to take what sort of a traditional approach to change to transformation, and I really disagree, because I think I've been in the business process re-engineering, sort of, that's what I started my career in. So I've kind of seen this for many years. One person who back then was way senior than me said that the only process that ever works is the informal process, right? So it's the process that what everyone does on the ground, people will always take shortcuts. So the most important thing is you've got to give the teams a reason for wanting to change, and you've got to and that's all about them seeing value, okay? Right. And by effectively not changing anything, so say they know they're grown-ups, they're adults, they've been hired into a role because of their skills and their experience, right? So you don't tell them what they need to change. You train them to be able to use AI to be able to augment their existing workflows so that they can produce the same outputs faster and at a higher quality. Okay, now, yes, you can be building these agentic workflows for sure. That's a different conversation. Okay, when you're looking at kind of automating end-to-end processes, etc. And there is absolutely arguments for that. But really, what we're training our client teams on is being able to augment their current workflows. So effectively look at what you're doing right now and be able to do it way faster, way better, which then means that you can free up more time to either do more of the same. If it might be like account-based marketing, right? You can reach out to more people with more personalized engagement. You can spin up more microsites, whatever it might be. Or actually, going back to what I was saying before, Alex, is you could then, those sort of perhaps additional parallel projects that you always wanted to get done, you can then go, okay, well, I've got all this going now. I've freed up 50% or more of my time. Well, now we can start working and collaborating together to work on this next project that we wouldn't have previously had time to work on. Does that help?
Yeah, 100%. And I often find that innovative solutions face the initial skepticism. So, for example, what's the most misconception that typically potential clients have when they hear about your project?
Well, it's a more great question. If I could just sort of say, so the misconceptions I think that we see in our training, right, is when people hear about AI doing everything for you, there's this sort of disposition that people think, oh, they're just going to, they don't have to do any work. It's just going to take over their work. You have this, but it couldn't be further than the truth. I mean, pretty much in all of our cohorts, initially, there's a feeling of, oh God, we've got to do all this work. We've got to find all this data. We've got to build these instructions. We've got to do all of this. Yes, you do. And you've got to really think about, in order to get the best possible outputs and to be able to train your agents to be able to do a good job, you've got to give them all the context and you've got to give them all of the information. And that takes time, right? Particularly because some of the information that you really need to get the best outputs might not be easily accessible. You've got to get it from somewhere else, or you've got to dig it out, or you need to prepare it. You need to sort of maybe kind of change it, or do you see what I mean? So,
Yeah.
uh, so there's this kind of misconception that oh, it's extra work, but actually, it's just different because yes, you've got to put more time in at the beginning, but once you've built your foundation,
It's compounding.
bang, it's done.
Yeah.
It literally is done in minutes.
Yeah.
To use that awful expression, it's done in minutes instead of hours, or hours instead of days, or days instead of weeks. But it's true. But you do have to put the time in early on to put in that foundation. Does that
Yeah.
answer the question, or did you have a slightly different angle on it?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, to push like a little bit the project forward, and then it's compounded. It's like the snowball effect after
Yes.
you make this. And for
Yeah.
example, what are the biggest challenges companies face when they're trying to implement AI, and how does CogniScale address them?
Well, I think it goes back to this coordinated approach. So you could have individuals that are making great progress because they're being proactive and they're innovative and they're reading, they're perhaps taking courses, and they're doing great things. But unless you've got everybody in that kind of position, then you're not going to get that kind of uplift. And I think when you look at the CogniScale training, we're literally setting up a Claude team license. So everyone gets a license at the same time. They're all shown how to use it. They all have to build these AI agents, okay? And then after the program, they have more AI agents that they commit to building, okay?
Yeah.
And they've got to present those back. And so you've got this coordinated approach that I think is what's critical. And that's I guess the main difference. Individuals themselves can work out how to do this, but for organizations to get that kind of transformation into everyone on this journey, everyone being able to build agents around their workflows, you need to have training and direction and vision in order to get there.
Right, 100%. And now, looking at the broader industry, what's your vision for the future of AI upskilling in the enterprise?
Well, so all organizations are going to be going on this journey, and there are going to be lots of companies like mine that spring up to help companies pivot and evolve from a training perspective, from a consultative sort of visionary leadership perspective. And good luck to those organizations because this is a huge marketplace,
Yeah.
and I think there's plenty of room for lots of organizations like ours to come in and to help their clients, or to help organizations that perhaps are not their clients already if they're new entrants. I think it's like anything is people. This is about people change, and it takes a long time to get people to change the way they work, particularly if they don't have a process like ours to go through. I think there's going to be lots of online tutorials that there are already, no doubt, that companies can go on. But I think there's probably a number of other things to think about as well. So particularly with larger organizations, putting in place an AI technology stack is driven by IT, and there's lots of sort of legal concerns or compliance concerns, and those organizations take time to make those decisions.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a journey. The smaller organizations are going to have a real opportunity here because they're able to pivot way faster, and so I think it's a real kind of message to those larger organizations that they've really got to prioritize this to avoid the challenges that they might face from a competitive perspective.
Okay, I see. And for example, in your opinion, what advice would you give to companies looking to empower their teams with AI?
Well, I mean, they need to give them the opportunity to use the best tools and to go through training so they understand how to use those tools, and to give them some structure. So we have these assignments that they have to complete. So if you don't have follow-on assignments, you don't have commitments, then people kind of might lose sight, even if they get some initial value. You've got to work at it. So my advice would be this has got to be seen as a change program, and there needs to be maybe monthly calls that are put in place. You've got to give people the responsibility to actually communicate to their work colleagues what it is they're doing, what agents they've built. You've got to have build a shared AI agent library where everyone can access all the agents that are being built. So yeah, I mean, it's a completely new way of thinking about how to approach work. So, my advice would be find organizations who can offer this as a service, a consultative service, a training service, and work with them on maybe an initial 3-month program, and that could then extend beyond that to support more teams within the organization.
Okay, great advice though. And it sounds like you're ahead of the curve in many ways, which makes me curious about your growth plans. So, for example, how are you looking to grow for the next year?
That's a really good question. So at the moment, it's me doing the training, uh, and we have experienced people within our own organisations, but they're busy doing other things, and the market is still fairly well. It's very new, very embryonic. There aren't that many people that have got a huge amount of experience in doing this. So I'm trying to figure that out at the moment, if I'm honest. We've got, I do have associates who were talking to other trainers that understand how to use the Claude platform and others. So I'm in discussions with them. I also think there are people out there that we can train up to augment their current way of small businesses, associates who we can train up how to do this, and then they can help out with running the training programs and building relationships with clients, etc. So I think there's definitely an opportunity for companies. So if anyone's listening who might be interested in that, please do reach out. I'd be really interested in hearing from you. I think the other thing is around the sort of top down. So we spoke about working with CEOs and sort of leaders of organizations. So one of the things that we're looking at doing, and we have done in fact, is launching leadership immersions. So where CEOs and senior department heads can come together, and we can literally do a very kind of short. It's actually a kind of 50% of the plan workshop where we give them the experience of working with Claude and demo agents, so they do have these personal aha moments. So that's another thing that we can do to grow the business is get more CEOs kind of into the kind of mindset of those aha moments and the change opportunities. So yeah, it's exciting times, but we're very right at the beginning of this journey. So yeah, it's great to have the opportunity to chat it through with you, Alex.
Yeah, that sounds great. And before we wrap up, I'm curious about what's on the horizon on the long term and what's your vision. So when you look at TechPros and CogniScale's journey over the next few years, what possibilities excite you the most?
So with Tech Pros, it's building communities, as I was saying before, where they can connect through roundtable events, mostly virtual, because a lot of these are going to be global audiences. So I think that's the key thing. So we've got these challenge forums that we run, where everyone who turns up submits a challenge, and then everyone on the Zoom call votes on which challenge is going to be discussed. And then there's a round of questions, and then everyone gives their solution. So it's kind of a format that works really, really well. So we're going to be scaling up our communities, and we're going to be looking for tech companies that want to sponsor the communities, and they get the opportunity of meeting the participants and content produced off the back of the programs as well. So that's what excites me about the future of Tech Pros. I think for CogniScale, yeah, it's really, I think, so I'm planning to speak at a lot of events, and what we do is we offer AI acceleration reports, which are surveys that we do. We do this free of charge, where companies can survey their teams, okay? And what we do is we take all of the information from the surveys and we produce an AI acceleration report that shows what workflows are taking how much time, what their team members are currently thinking about AI. Are they excited? Is there anything that they're not happy about or they're concerned about? What level of AI usage is currently taking place? And anyway, we're able to take that. We're able to show what demo agents, what the agents could look like. We're able to show if they go through an AI upskilling with CogniScale, how much time they could save, and then what that means in terms of return on investment. So those AI acceleration reports can be used to kind of share with CFOs and CEOs to get budget for AI upskilling. But not even that, just get a real feel for what the potential opportunity is for AI transformation. So definitely, if there's anyone listening who would like that, reach out. I'm sure Alex will share some links, and we can look at giving you an AI acceleration report.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with Tech Pros and CogniScale, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, just the website. So CogniScale.com. We recently acquired the domain, so happy to say that. And techpros.io. So just come onto our websites, and there's ways you can get in touch with us there, or reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Okay, great. Yeah, so thanks for joining me today, Tim, and for this amazing podcast session. And for anyone listening, make sure to check out Tech Pro socials below in the description, because this episode was packed with value, and I can wait to see what you build next.
Alex, thank you very much. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you, and see you in the next episode.